Hey, this is Kevin Clay of My Little Dog China, Soundtracks for Wasted Youth, and Orthodox Outcast. You're listening to the Rumors Are True podcast.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome the band Hot Pink Turtle. You know Hot Pink Turtle as Jamin, Jay, Dion, and Dave. Awesome conversation with this legendary band. So honored to have them on this podcast to talk about the past and, of course, their upcoming future. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with the band Hot Pink Turtle. Hot Pink Turtle. What is up, guys? I am so excited to have you guys on the podcast. And it's weird. A friend of mine reached out to me recently and was like, "Hey, would you like to have the band Hot Pink Turtle on your podcast?" And I said, "Well, yes, I would. Absolutely. I loved that band, and I loved everything about, your past and who you guys were and just how eclectic you guys were in the past. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Jamin, Dion, Dave, and Jay."
That's us.
Jamin. You're right. I wrote it down too.
It doesn't help to write it down.
You know what? I did write it down, but apparently I didn't listen.
It doesn't help. Yeah, it doesn't.
I called him Jamin, so thank you for that.
Jamin. Guys.
Jasmine, I get it a lot at like any place.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Starbucks. They'll look at the cup and they'll look at me and they'll go, "Jasmine?" And I'll just go, "Yeah, that's fine."
I definitely can relate it. My name, obviously, name's Jeremy, which is not an uncommon name, but I get Jerome, me, and all that stuff. So I totally understand that. Guys, thank you so much, truly, for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about what you guys are up to now. Let's start with Dion. Go ahead and tell me what's up in your world, what's new in your world, and what's going on.
Well, currently I'm sitting in the parking lot so I can talk to you guys. And I'm just here in Kansas City still, and not like Jamin, I didn't run away from the rest of the band and leave us holding the bag with no singer. No, just nothing special. I'm not really doing anything music anymore. I still got all my stuff in a storage unit. So there's a whole bunch of bass amps in a storage unit in Liberty, Missouri right now. But I even got my dad's old PA system, guys. I got that in storage.
That's awesome.
I love it.
But, I just I'm your happy neighborhood window salesman. So that's about all I do nowadays. So
what area of Kansas City are you in?
Like Kansas City, Missouri, Liberty.
Okay.
Just everywhere around. So yeah.
Okay.
But,
awesome. Very cool. Jamin. Jamin. Go ahead, man.
Which, I live now in Johnson City, Tennessee, which I've been here about 20 years.
Oh, nice.
I know. Yeah, some bad blood there. I moved to St. Louis first to soften the blow, and they were pretty salty about that. We still had hopes of a reunion.
4 hours. 4 hours.
At some point, but now I'm like 14 hours away. But, man, it's good out here. It's good country.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I think what I'm up to now, I'm a pastor at a church.
That's pastor. So cool.
At a church. I've led worship and owned a school for a long time, taught music and art and stuff like that. Raised a bunch of kids. I've got 9 kids, but most of them are grown. I've got one still at home. A bunch of grandbabies now. So, I'm in the grandpa era. Not doing a whole lot musically. I mean, obviously, I still sing. It's just part of who I am. Lead worship a bit here or there, write some songs here or there. And, I always imagine that we'll get together maybe on Dion's 60th birthday and we'll do a reunion.
That's awesome.
Show of kind of just the 30 more years. We'll pull out the sombreros and we'll have at it.
That's awesome.
I still got storage too.
I bet you do.
That's awesome. Is Dave available or is Jay available?
I think they just muted their video, but they're here. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. I guess when they get back on, we'll go ahead and do with that. Let's talk about, for you guys particularly, growing up for you guys, what bands, what records kind of influenced you guys, maybe pushed you in the direction that you guys went in?
Jamin, you want to go? You want me to go?
I'll go first. Hey, Dave, Jay, you there? Apparently not. Okay, just checking. Yeah, I mean, for me, Dion's is probably more interesting than mine because he had a cooler exposure to music at a younger age than I did. I was, grew up in the church. I mean, top 40, Casey Kasem's top 40.
Yeah.
For me, for the most part, on my boombox in the garage until, 1984 or so. Allies came out.
Oh, I love that band.
Bob Carlisle, just incredible singer, and Dave, I forget his last name, phenomenal guitar player. AD, Kerry Livgren's band came out. Then, of course, Stryper, and just all this really, really cool music. Resband and Petra and Whiteheart, and just all the early era Christian stuff that was just becoming rock. And man, that just became kind of my bread and butter. And so, I think that was when I started listening, maybe the kind of music that we ended up playing. It was a few years later in high school. Jay and Dion and I all knew each other through church. Jay and I went to high school together. We were friends with Bill Brown from De Jesus. Dion went to a different high school just in a neighboring town. He was good friends with Phil Schlatter from De Jesus. And so we were all kind of friends through church and music, and eventually in various forms decided to get together and start a band. And so that was kind of the beginning of that.
Yeah. Dion, tell me, bring me through your, musical journey in terms of listening to records and bands and all that.
Well, it really goes back to my dad. My dad played country music, and Jamin, I don't know if you remember this, but the drummer for my dad's band, when I was a kid, was the drummer from Hee Haw. So,
oh wow,
I did not know that.
Love that show.
His name is Willie Hackerman, and every so often, guys would come through town and they would jam in my parents' basement. So I'd get up on a stool and sing a little Waylon for them or something, So I had a lot of country music influence from my dad, and like kind of old time rock and roll kind of stuff. I'm actually named after Dion DeMucci from Dion and the Belmonts.
Wow.
An old doo-wop, run around the sea and teenager in love and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm the kind of guy that. Other than that, I had a much older brother, like 7 or 8 years older than me, and he got me into like Ted Nugent, Billy Squire. I remember sixth grade for the Christmas party, I bought a Billy Squire 45 record and traded it because I got a Snoopy car, and I traded a kid that got the record that I bought to get my record back. So, I wanted to
Who won on that trade? Who won on that trade?
Oh, I definitely won. I got the Squire. He got the Snoopy cat.
That's awesome.
You know, I think the actual first album I ever bought was ELO's Greatest Hits.
Oh, I love that band.
Just loved it. And then that goes right alongside, though, my Chipmunk Punk album.
Ah.
So, you know, the Chipmunk sing such punk classics like Billy Joel. That's literally on there. Billy Joel was considered punk, I guess. But
that's hilarious.
There was a lot of strange influence from my dad and my brother coming through, and then of course Jay making me listen to all sorts of horrible things. As we got older, and you know, we loved all the 80s.
Yeah.
So I still like to say we're an 80s metal band because we started in December of '89.
Yeah. Technically.
Yeah. So it counts. It counts. And, there's a lot of influence in there. Like, in high school, I used to drive around with James Brown was in jail at the time, and I had free James Brown signs all over my car.
I remember that actually. That's amazing.
I really grew up listening to a lot of like doo-wop and old hard rock and country and stuff. So really, just about anything from there. So.
Well, it's funny you say that. I can hear that in the music. Like, you know, the fact that you say that, it's like I could totally see, you know.
You may not have noticed on any demo, if you had a demo or anything, but
no.
We actually decided, you know, early on not to refer to it as Christian rock because it was a quick, like, shut people down. So we called it anti-Satan disco funk metal. And, that pretty much defined it, I think.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dave, are you on, Dave? Can you hear now?
Yeah, we're here.
I don't know if you can hear. Okay. Dave, why don't you talk me through what you've got going on in your life currently, and same with Jay.
Well, I'm currently in the geriatric home, but I've always been the guy in the band, so I just roll with it. I've been here in Kansas. I moved here about the year I met these guys, and saw an ad in a music store for looking for guitars to jam. So I called Jay because I had a friend named Jay, and he seemed like that'd be a cool guy to call. So anyway, I just pick up the phone, talk to those guys, and that's kind of how I got introduced to them. And Bill Brown was still in the band at that time.
Talking about what music did you start listening to as a kid and whatnot?
So, the volume is kind of okay. So for me, musically, I grew up with older brothers, so it was Kiss, Deep Purple, Steppenwolf, that kind of stuff. Then as I got out on my own, I was more of the heavy metal stuff, except Sabotage and a bunch of bands that you've never heard of. So that's kind of.
I'm 47. I'm not too far off. I'm 47. That's awesome, though. That's really cool. Jay, why don't you walk me through what do you got going on currently, and bring me through some of your musical history as well.
I was supposed to not talk, so.
Well, it's your turn. It's your turn.
I find this offensive.
It's in the contract.
I forgot what you're supposed to say. It's the influences. Is that what you want to know?
Well, yeah. Bring me through what you're doing currently in your world, and then bring me through your influences.
Nothing special. Just work. Technical side of security. Influences, man. I don't know. I learned to play drums with Huey Lewis. So
I love that.
I don't know what else to say to that.
Well, that sounds pretty good, and I love that you. Oh yeah. Aw.
Oh, bless your heart.
That's cool. Awesome, guys. Well, let's talk about the beginning of Hot Pink Turtle. I know some of you guys alluded to it, and we could just kind of go however. Just bring me through kind of meeting each other and kind of getting to know each other in that beginning stages and what that was like for you guys, and kind of maybe the direction you guys were wanting to go.
Maybe I'll start there, which Dave touched on some of it. Jay and I were buddies. We played in high school. I sang in high school with like a show choir where you wear the cummerbund and the whole deal.
Yeah.
And Bill played bass to back up that band. And Jay and Bill were friends, and we'd gotten together with a buddy and learned some ZZ Top cover songs or whatever we had done.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Bill Brown. And so we'd originally thought, well, we'll get together with Bill, with Jay, with me. We need a guitar player. So we put out an ad. Dave Mora showed up. First night, we canceled practice. We went to a Kansas City Royals game instead because we got free tickets. And so our very first practice ever, we just hung out and went to a baseball game.
That's amazing.
They were going to steal my equipment. I just met
that's right. Yeah, Dave didn't want to leave his amp in our garage, but shortly after, Bill had decided it just wasn't a season for him to be doing that, and so we were friends with Dion also, and so very quickly after, it was a few weeks, maybe a month. It wasn't very long. Connected with Dion. Plus, he had a basement he mentioned where his dad's band used to practice, and so he had a rehearsal space too. But so pretty quickly after, I think Dion mentioned December 13th, 1989 was our birthday.
Wow.
Started writing some songs.
Because we could practice in his basement, though.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
What was the initial, practices like? And it's kind of cool that you actually guys didn't practice and you got to kind of go to a baseball game and get to know each other. I think that's actually really cool. Because you got, you're not, it breaks the ice, if you will. What was the initial practices like? Was it rough? Was it cool? Did you feel like you had something special?
I remember I just wanted to play blues rock, because I had just come back from Atlanta Institute of Music and I learned every blues scale known to man. So let's jam on some blues. That's kind of where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But
we almost kicked him out of the band.
Yeah.
Was it my mental influence? That's the only thing that kept me there.
Did you guys connect musically pretty quickly?
I'd say so. It's just more of somebody gets a riff or something, and then we'd just kind of jam on the riff a little bit, find some way to change it to make it weird, and then just kind of roll with them. But when I joined, they'd already had, I believe it was 3 practices, and they had written 3 songs. So I learned those pretty quick. Couldn't play it as well as Bill did, but I did my best. And and then what was the first song we did? Was it Funky Creep? I think that was the first one I brought in.
Probably.
Didn't mean you sit up in my bedroom and write that, and then go downstairs.
It was that or my front room. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was Funky Creep, though. Yeah. That was one of the demos. So.
Yeah.
Which, Jeremy, that
really started was once I got there.
For sure.
Pulled it together. Everything coalesced and everything aligned.
Yeah.
Under my leadership, everything went, perfect.
Yeah. And anyone who's listening, all the rest of us are just nodding our heads, affirming that truth. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Speaking of
and Jeremy,
people.
Jeremy, one thing you said though, just about how we wrote, I think Dion kind of said we would just jam and just see what felt good to us. Yeah. And there was a lot of kind of varied musical background there. And I would suggest none of us were good at what we did. Maybe still aren't, but especially then. So we were just having fun and having a good time. Dion mentioned we weren't trying to write radio hits.
Sure.
We were just trying to write stuff that to us was entertaining.
Yeah.
And just having a good time. And we've got some videos, which I hope never get published, of just practices and dumb skits. And just all kinds of stuff. We really did have a lot of fun.
Where did the band name come from?
Oof, I don't know. Does anybody know?
My Sweats.
He told me. Yeah, it was Jay Sweatpants. He was in there. So, from what I was told...
So let me tell the story then.
Somebody wanted to name the band Turtle, or the Turtle, or something like that. And I believe And what I was told was Dave said there was already a band called The Turtle, and Jay was wearing hot pink sweats as he was known to do. And somebody said, well, what about Hot Pink Turtle? And everyone laughed. Mm-hmm. And the name stuck, and then I joined. So I have no idea. That's what I was told. I'll never forget that. But
that's amazing.
And this was in the era of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a premise there for band names.
Were you guys super influenced by them, obviously?
Not me so much, but some of the guys probably were. Yeah.
I listened to the road records. Yeah.
Yeah.
What other bands, I know you kind of mentioned your influences, but what other bands were you guys, I guess, collectively listening to that maybe was influencing you guys?
King's X would...
Yeah.
Yeah. Boys, none of those you can hear the influence.
Yeah. Was at this time Dig Jesus kind of starting out as well? Were you guys kind of riffing off each other at all?
No, they were kind of at the time. A couple of the guys were like Phil was a drummer in a punk band called Don, and then that broke up. Bill filled in on bass for like a show or two or something like that with them, and then when that broke up, they got together with Dan Gwynn and his band Chanceless, and that was actually Bill on bass. I think Phil was the singer maybe, and Jimmy was drums, and Dave Anderson was guitar, and then or another guitar, something like that, and they came and saw us play with the Lead. Remember the band, the Lead?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do.
We played a show with them, and then Dave said he wanted to do something with us, but we weren't really a two guitar kind of band, so cool guy, but we didn't know how to work the dynamic with two guitars, and so they ended up not really kicking Dan out of his own band, not that by any means. They just kind of all separated and wanted to do something similar to what we were doing. And
I got you. Very cool. Yeah. That's crazy that you guys are both from the same town and you both are, reminiscent of each other in a good way. You both sound completely different, but it's like,
Bill,
you both kind of had the same stuff.
Bill Brown's dad and my dad knew each other, and like in the music world and stuff, because Bill had a family band, kind of like the Partridge Family, and
oh, cool.
Spirit.
Dad knew of them, and they bought. I think he bought some stuff from my dad, and Bill and I actually met when we were little kids, but just didn't really know it. So like later in high school, because I got to know him because of Jay, because Jay and I met. How old were we, Jay? 16, when you came over to join our band Crystal Rays.
No, Armor. It was Armor.
Oh my God! Yeah,
that's amazing.
Armor with Al Bickley and who else? Yeah, that was.
What was it called? Armor what?
That Crystal Rose.
Bill Slaughter was the drummer of.
Oh, that's right.
And Crystal Rose. So yeah, there was a lot of switching around going on there, but that's how Jay and I actually met. Was he was what? Science lab partners, right, Jay? With Al?
Chemistry.
Is that right? Chemistry, okay.
Chemistry.
And, there was chemistry with Al and Jay, and so we needed a drummer, and he somehow talked Jay into coming over, and that's how Jay and I met, and Jamin and I knew each other from church and all, so I couldn't care less about Dave.
You didn't even know me then.
I care about Dave.
You didn't even know Dave. Hey, by the way, now this touches on something, Jeremy, because Dig Jesus, I would say, is probably the best known Christian band. They had several albums. Hot Pink Turtle, maybe one of the early bands there, but I mean, there were a ton of bands in Kansas City when we formed too.
Really?
That were forming this kind of community, and like Dion was saying, they were changing members, just trying to figure out what they were doing. And so, in some ways, we were late to that game. There were 10 bands that already existed.
Really?
We were just doing something unique. It wasn't punk or metal exactly. It was more what we would call kind of funk metal or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a little different. But man, name some of the good bands: Abhor Evil, Real Chrysalis.
Wow.
I mean, there was we actually had an organization called Crusade in Kansas City.
That's right.
That we all formed when I was in. I think it was right after high school. Actually, I think I was still 18. Might have been 19, but there was a meeting. We saw these flyers at like local concerts and stuff, and it was like Christian musicians, meeting at such and such. And, me and a few friends went to it, and we're all sitting around this basement. It's probably 25, 30, guys, and we all just went around. I'm Dion, I play bass. I'm Dion, I play bass. And just everybody went around, and a few guys were grouped together, and it was like, well, we're so and so. We need a bass player. What kind of music do you guys do? And it just kind of
that's cool.
started to form out. It was really cool, and
it's very cool.
The best part of that is everybody was super supportive. If there was a show from a Crusade band, everybody in Crusade showed up and
that's awesome.
So it was really cool. We put out a demo tape.
Can't get a word in.
You're never gonna.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of fun in those early days. Dion mentioned our first show, our breakout show was with The Lead.
Yeah.
And this band called DON, Dave Anderson and friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was, the response to that show when we kind of introduced our stuff was just felt super
that's amazing.
Welcome, and played with a bunch of those bands over the years, all the skating rinks and the pizza parking lots and movie theaters, all the gigs you have.
Yeah.
That's a movie theater. That's a good one.
With all those guys.
Jamin, you said our first breakout show was with The Lead. What was our first show?
We opened up for a lip sync band.
Oh my!
Milli
Vanilli.
Park in Liberty.
Shepherd.
And Ernest Shepherd, and that was the first time of two that I threw up live at a concert, right?
That's right.
That's amazing.
Throwing up.
A history too. Come on.
So you guys mentioned The Lead. What were there other bands from touring bands that you were playing with, Christian or non-Christian at that time as well, or is it just kind of pick what you could and just play what you could?
Yeah, anybody that would let us play. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, this is early days. I mean, nobody knew about us except in Kansas City. So.
Sure. Well, let's talk about the initial demos. You kind of mentioned you had a couple demos. Maybe bring me through, those demos, kind of what that was like recording, kind of finding yourselves, and what that was like.
Sweet. Dave, you're up, dude.
The first thing I remember is doing Cream, which was like 8-hour recording session to do one song.
It was 4.
A 4-track. And it took us literally 8 hours. We stopped. I don't know if we stopped halfway and went and got some pizza or something, but we got one song mixed and recorded in 8 hours, and it sounded so.
Yeah.
It was a marathon session. That's it.
Where'd you guys record these demos at? Was it in just a KC area?
Jay's living room.
Yeah, living room, did it on our own. What was the place in Raytown with the dog? Max Milkbone.
Brian Fitz.
Oh. Yeah. Brian Fitz.
Yeah.
And then Gary Shockey.
Oh, yeah, Shockey.
Didn't we do some stuff with Gary?
Stepping Stone.
And then that one band contest we won and got studio time. I forget the name of that studio, though.
Stepping Stone Studio.
Stepping Stone. Yeah, which, hey, this is kind of cool, Jeremy. Very proud. We entered a band contest in Kansas City. We won it. But then they also had a solo singer competition. We entered that and won it, too. And then we just used all the hours for the band to do a demo.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Did you feel like when each Go ahead, Dion.
Jamin was the Richard Marx of our time.
Oh, well, obviously. He's been right here waiting. He's been right here waiting.
With that, sure. That's totally.
So when you guys were recording these initial demos, did you see a progression in the music as you went, or did you seem like, hey, we're getting somewhere, or did you feel like, hey, we're just writing? I guess just bring me what your thoughts were on maybe just the progression of those
I think
demos.
the songs were more complex. The second demo, there's a lot more changes and stuff in it. I think, and the studio quality was better too.
Yeah, and we were just figuring out who we were. Yeah. So definitely gelled more and more as time went on. By the time we recorded the national album, those songs had already been written and
played a million times.
By the time we got to what would have been the second album, I think we really had something that was more cohesive. We kind of knew who we were at that point, and then we decided not to be a band anymore. So,
well, let's talk about signing with R.E.X.
Yes.
At the time, they were pretty well known in the Christian alternative world. Circle of Dust, and I think quite a few bands on it at that point. What was that like? Believer, amazing band. How did they come into the picture, and what was that like being courted by a label, and of course they eventually signing with them? Bring me through kind of the process of that.
I feel like Dave sent more demos than the rest of us did.
Well, I don't know. I remember all the story. Maybe you would do Dion or Jamin, but a friend of Jeremy, who was in a band called Abhor Evil, he had a friend in Wisconsin named Jim Ellis, and he was friends with Doug Mann at R.E.X. And every time we do a demo or even get a song, he's like, hey, let me have that. Let's get it to my buddy Jim. And he would pass it on to Doug at R.E.X. That's kind of how I remember. I don't know if that's exactly right, but this guy named Jim Ellis, I don't know if we had met him, but he was pretty instrumental in just pushing some of our stuff onto Doug Mann at R.E.X. And then after we had two demos, we were working on a third one, and I think Doug said, let me hear a little more. We could tell he was interested.
Yeah. And there was a moment in which we played like a new band highlight stage at Cornerstone.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Ellis really did, I think, do a lot because he was doing our demos too and distributed them. So, he was doing a lot just to get the music other places. But we had a little interest from BAI, a little interest from Blonde Vinyl, a little interest from R.E.X. It was just there was at least some conversations about, hey, maybe there would be an opportunity to do like a real album at some point. And as the pieces all came together, just R.E.X. Seemed like the fit. Maybe in part, the other three guys, well, maybe not Dion so much, but Jay and Dave for sure, just like heavier music.
Yeah.
And so, R.E.X., they had Believer, they had, they just had some really good
sense.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and what's
R.E.X.
Sacrifice, Living Sacrifice.
Living Sacrifice, of course. Can't not mention them.
Yeah. When you signed, absolutely. Bruce is amazing.
Yeah.
What was that like once you signed? Did you feel, hey, we're going to make it? Was that the mindset, or were you like, oh my God, we're just recording a record? Like, what was that like?
We were just ignorant. It was fun, but I don't know that we thought we were going to make it.
Get a hit record, man.
I don't think we had any delusions of like big success.
Yeah.
It was just, let's just do what we're doing. At least have fun with it while it lasts. That's what it seemed like.
You mentioned earlier Armin John Petrie.
Yes.
The record producer, the engineer that worked with us. And I have this great quote. We were talking later about him in the studio. He did an interview with some, Heaven's Metal or whatever it was. And they said, hey, what was it like being in the studio with Hot Pink Turtle? And he said, it was like being inside a pinball machine, and I just kept getting free games. And it was just a great quote.
That's amazing.
So love that. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I
it was
love
great.
that. Well, you signed with the label. I assume you're excited and really pumped. How long after you signed with the label do you start working on the full length Tickle, Wiggle, Jiggle, Pickle? I got it right. Bring me through how long it took for you guys to start working on that record.
Took a year, didn't it?
Yeah,
it took
really.
Yeah, because Armin came to the house and listened to the songs, and there was a little bit of back and forth there. Yeah.
Oh, also, Jay, wasn't that when you broke your collarbone when Armin was coming to visit? so we tried to hide that from him. So we didn't go in.
Wow.
Isn't that right?
And how did you see that? How did you?
Yeah, whose fault was that? This guy, the geriatric, sitting right next to me.
By the way, Dave is 5 years older than the rest of us, and so we refer to him as an old man. Geriatric.
Yeah.
Any opportunity we can get. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So you go into the studio with Armand Petrie, like we mentioned. Bring me through the recording of this record. What was it like? Obviously working with him and just kind of, well, bring me through memories from that time and thoughts from that time.
Oh, dude. So many.
Yeah. Well, I remember, what was the name of the studio? I forget. The
Sonic
Temple, right? Or Sonic Temple. Okay, yeah. So it was in an old Masonic Lodge.
Masonic Lodge, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it had these huge rooms with, like, Egyptian art and everything all over it. And there was lots of secret passageways with openings to spy on people that we weren't supposed to be in. So naturally, we were in every one of them. And there was, we were picking up radio signals through Dave's amp of a Spanish creature.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we thought the amp was haunted.
Well, point of clarification, Jay and Dion were afraid. Dave and I enjoyed playing pranks on them. So,
hey, Jamin. Jamin, I want to say something provocative. Were you ever naked? Were you ever naked in a hall in there?
No, not all the way.
Okay.
No, I guess.
Apologies.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Let's go to the
No, but Jay was.
That's amazing.
Love the video.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the video was a blast in Chicago. I mean, we had so much fun. Obviously, it was our first time being in a big studio. Working with Armand was fun. By the way, this is way back in the day. A little shout out to Armand because he had been with some big bands. He was with Goo Goo Dolls kind of before they hit, and so he'd done some stuff. He produced Sixpence None the Richer's first album, which they'd recorded literally the 2 weeks before we got there. So he's done a ton of good work. And he's mixing on like 2-inch tape and splicing it to do cuts.
Wow.
And, I mean, we just had a great time with him. Yeah, I think we were a headache for him though because he just didn't know what to do with us at the time.
Go ahead, Dion.
Was Caesar Kalinowski? Is that his name?
Yep.
Okay. Caesar really didn't want us running around the studio. Yeah. And so we weren't allowed to go in certain rooms. I mean, we had to stay just in the recording areas, and we just didn't. And it was clear because we never wore shoes, so there's bare footprints and all the dust and everything. But the best part to me was that if you look at the back of the record, there's a picture of us in black. It's black and white, right, guys? Isn't it black and white?
Or like two-tone.
That was taken on the roof of the studio where we weren't supposed to be.
Wow.
And so if you ever saw that, I mean, we weren't supposed to be there. But we took pictures up there anyway. So
that's amazing.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What
is pool ball.
Oh.
He was nice to us. Wait. Jay is in their music video for virtual reality. What was it?
Which band?
The band was Under.
The guy. What was it called?
Can you not hear me? Under Midnight.
No.
You're cutting, Dave.
Oh. Great band.
Yeah. Under Midnight.
Video.
Cyber Vision.
Wow.
Mohawk. Cyber Vision.
Yes, that's so cool.
Look it up.
You'll see Jay smiling in the video, and he kept getting in trouble because they wanted him to look tough. Jay couldn't stop smiling, and then we were in the room and making fun of him and making him laugh and spin his sticks and stuff, and they eventually kicked us out.
which I've got a connected point here, Jeremy, that maybe helps embody who Hopping Turtle was. So, we were a heavy-ish band. And so when we did start playing, it was the Michigan Mosh Fest. And, we were with those bands. But we would show up, Scott from Circle of Dust and Believer and, Living Sacrifice, whoever. Gosh, who was the Luke from Crimson Thorn, all those guys. And so we would show up and they're all in black with like studded armbands and just looking ticked off. And we'd come in with shorts and tank tops playing hacky sack and stuff. And so we used to love that. But one of my favorite memories is we played Atlanta, Six Flags in Atlanta. And it was just an incredible show, man. Just crowd responded great. It was just a great venue. Circle of Dust was following us.
Wow.
And so we get up there, we just have a blast, man. The audience just responds well. It was just a ton of fun. We wrap up, we finish. Scott's coming on. And I'm like, hey, man, have fun. And he says, nah, man, that's your gig. It's like, but it was just such great. Yeah, but we loved doing that and loved, being a part of that.
That's
stuff.
Awesome. That's so
good
cool.
memories there. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we mentioned Crimson Thorn, we got to remember to mention Miles. Miles was awesome.
Heck yes.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, when you guys were in the studio with Armand, you kind of mentioned it was like a pinball, you said, or he didn't know what to do. Did he, at the end of the day, did he wind up liking the band, or was he just, what was his thoughts? I know you can't speak for him per se, but, what do you think
I think
thought
he liked
about
us as people. I'm not sure he loved the band, but I'm sure he loved us as people, yes.
Was that R.E.X's idea to have him, or was that, how did that even come in?
I'm sure it was a twofer. He was there to be suspense.
They got 6 pence a house together for the price of one or something.
Yeah.
Well, Dion, you mentioned you had a 6-pence story. What were you going to say?
oh, Lord. You guys can leave the room for 20 minutes. It takes a minute. I'll try to condense it, okay? You want to say anything before I start? Anybody?
No.
Anybody need to go to the bathroom? It's a good time. Okay. Well, when we went up to record, like Jamin said, Sixpence had just finished. Sixpence had never even played a show live before, if you remember this.
Wow.
They'd never played in front of anyone because, remember, Matt was in Love Coma. So all the guys from Love Coma came through, and, we'd met them earlier, and cool guys. And so Lee was like, I think she just turned 16, something like that, and she was really nervous because they were going to play at Cornerstone when they left the studio, and we had to actually leave the studio and go play at Cornerstone, okay? So Matt asked me if I would talk to Lee because we had played all kinds of live shows. I mean, that's just all we did, and he was like, talk to her and try to get her relaxed. So I spent, an hour or two walking around Cornerstone with her, just telling her, just relax, do something stupid. Just don't try to be cool.
Yeah, don't be serious.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just get out of your head. Do something silly. Just, all this stuff. And I really walked around, had a good time talking to her and stuff. She, really nice and super talented, of course. So we walked over to where they were going to play in one of the tents. And I said, look, I'm going to stand right there by that post. If you're getting nervous, look there, I'll stand there, I'll give you the thumbs up, whatever, right? So I'll be there for you. So just do something silly. So I remember, what? Jay, did you want to say something? Exactly. Okay. So they come out, they start playing. She's standing there with her hands over her heart, okay?
Wow.
And she was wearing, I think she told me she was wearing like her grandmother's wedding dress. It was just like a simple kind of off-white dress and long white gloves. I remember this for some reason. But she was standing with her hands over her chest for like 2 or 3 songs and just looking down or her eyes closed. And then finally during a song she looked up and opened her eyes and she had a hot pink turtle sticker.
Whoa.
Over her heart.
Nice.
Everybody started laughing and she looked at me and smiled, and that was her silly thing. So, but this was really cool, and that was really great and all. So, fast forward several years. See, I'm trying to do this fast, guys. Fast forward several years. Now I'm in another band. Guys that really are good at what they do, except for me. And like professionally, not musically. I mean, but, so the singer in that band, this would have been Dev Null with the drummer from Abhor Evil, and Dave, the guitar player from Dig Jesus, and then we had a singer named Jono. And Jono had mentioned really like Sixpence, and I said, "Brother, I know them." And he's like, "No, you don't know them." And to be fair, I don't know. So he didn't believe me at all. And then Dave was like, "No, I'm telling you, he does know them." So I said, "Look, I'll go to the show with you. I'm telling you, I know them." So they played at the Beaumont, I think, like you mentioned that. And so I said, "Look, let's make our way to the side of the stage towards the end. I'll show you. I'm telling you, I know them." And Matt was on that side, and when they're all finished, I was yelling, "Matt, Matt, Matt!" And he finally saw me, and he's like, "Hey, man," waving me back. So me and Jono go backstage. He can't believe it. He's meeting Sixpence. He's so, he just can't believe that I actually was telling the truth for once. And Matt's like, "Oh, dude, let me go get Lee. She's gonna freak out. I can't wait till she sees me. Stay right here." And he's like, "Lee, come here." So she walks out, and she's like, "What?" And he goes, "Somebody's here." And I stepped on. I was like, "Hey!" And she goes, "Jamin."
I did not know that story. I did not know that story.
That's well. At least she didn't say Jamin.
Ouch.
And John goes, "What?" It's Dion.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
So there you go. That's
I
my
love that.
ridiculous Sixpence story.
That's
He
hysterical.
apologized and said, "Oh yeah, no, I just thought you were my favorite one, not that guy."
Aww.
But, everybody's favorite is Jamin. Everybody knows. Jamin is Jamin that.
I would say Jay is everybody's favorite.
Aww.
Well, until they know him.
So
what'd you say, Jay?
What? Let me ask you this.
Oh, Jamin.
Let me real quick back on the record. Was everything written when you went into the studio, or did you write while you're in the studio at all?
No.
Yeah, it was done. Maybe working out some background vocals and solos and stuff, but yeah, it was all done. Yeah.
What was it like when you heard it done?
What
was it like when you heard it finally finished? Yeah. Did it sound like you wanted it to? Really?
Yeah, I don't know that we had expectations. We were young. It was better than the demos we'd done, and the whole experience was fun, and it was super cool at the time. We were playing as much as we could, and maybe taking off for long weekends or a few gigs in a row.
Sure.
So I'm driving pizza delivery or whatever when I'm home in Kansas City, just trying to pay bills. And but I ended up I worked at Best Buy for a little while.
Yeah.
This is back when they were commissioned salesmen. It wasn't like teenagers in knit shirts. They were like, it was a bunch of old men smoking cigarettes out back, selling appliances. But it was super cool when our CD came in to Best Buy. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was super cool. But as far as what the album sounded like, I don't know that I ever thought about that. I think about that more today, but I didn't think about it back then. It was just fun.
I like Hairbrain better on the demo than I do on the album.
Yeah, there's a couple songs like that.
That's just me. Was it the mix or the mastering, or was it the production?
I don't know. I can't remember if Armin made us change a few things and simplify a few things.
Yeah.
Keep in time, guys. Quit playing with whatever times you want. That kind of stuff. We tried to smooth this out a little bit, so we unsmoothed ourselves live and did whatever we live. But some of the stuff got left out of the record of some of the songs. Just a few little things that I still thought was cool, but oh well. We got to do it live.
I still listen back when I listen to Pickin' Berries. I still love the way that came off.
Yeah, that was cool.
I like A Little Groove. I still like. It was probably the most pop thing we ever wrote. But there's some songs I even listen back today, and I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of that one. I like the way that turned out.
That was my next question. Now, how do you guys feel about it today, looking back on it? I mean, it's been so long, and I know you just kind of mentioned you weren't stoked on the way it sounded then, but I mean, looking back on it, yeah, just your thoughts on the record overall.
Well, for clarification too, I think Dave and I both, we thought it sounded huge, and we were very happy with how it sounded at the time. Yeah.
Do you love it now? Do you listen to it often?
Often? Maybe once every other year I'll spin it. If it's like a long car trip or something. Yeah.
Is it?
Once a day.
To be honest with you, I feel like for me personally, that would be hard to listen to something, that I had done. I'm sure that's not something you commonly do, but how long ago was it? 90?
That was 93.
Yeah. So what, 32
33 years?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a stamp in time at that point. So, are you guys proud of it?
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, those were fun years. And fun years. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was
yeah,
R.E.X.
Really,
my favorite song in there is Still Betting His Boy. I think that one came out the best.
I like that one too.
Dave, talk.
I can't hear him.
I hear you, Dave. Yeah. Where did that come from?
Oh, we know the story of where that came from. Jay, do you want to tell this story? Okay. He's like, no, I don't. All right, so Dion, you tell it, and then we'll fix anything that's wrong.
Everything's wrong. I'm going to take all the credit then.
Cool.
We were told we had to have... Okay, let me think. Okay. We were told we had to have a name for the record. We had discussed Immortals at the Mall.
Yeah.
We talked about calling it Scary Bear Bridge.
Uh-huh.
And somehow, let's see, our newsletter at the time, Jeremy, was called A Dill Pickle World. That came from our pastor. It said, what was it, Jeremy? The German used to say, the world is like a pickle. It looks good, and so you take a bite and it's sour or something like that.
I don't remember the backstory, but I remember.
Yeah, so we called our newsletter Dill Pickle World, because we actually mail the newsletter out. So we had pickle sitting there, so whatever that was. We didn't want to call the record Dill Pickle World, but, we were kind of with that. So we started talking about calling it Pickle. Of course, Jay was probably making fat jokes about me and Jiggle. Like when I laugh, I jiggle. I can see where that would come in. I don't remember where the words came from, but we're talking, I want to say, Jay, you're the one that said, our songs make you wiggle, something like that. And I got a phone call that my dad was in the hospital, and I said, let's just put it all together. I think I blurted out Ticklewigglejigglepickle. But I really don't remember because I was distracted. But I just said I'm going to take credit for it. I had to go, and whoever said Ticklewigglejigglepickle and put it all together, most likely it was me. Come on.
It wasn't. I know it wasn't.
It was probably Phil Slaughter and Bill Brown.
That's funny.
If you look online, Bill Brown's the only member of Hot Pink Turtle.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, what were their thoughts? I know you can't speak for them, but were they like, "What the heck is this?" Or were they like, "Oh, yeah"? Were they?
Super stoked.
They were super stoked. Well, here's the deal, though. There was a sense of urgency. I remember that part a little different. We had to call them back in 20 minutes and get an album name. It was like, we need a name, we need it now, guys working on artwork, blah, blah, blah. And so, we'll just go with Dion's story. It was basically it. However we came up with it, came up with 4 words, Ticklewigglejigglepickle. We thought it was hilarious, it was funny, it was ridiculous. We're going to go with that. So there wasn't in time for anyone to like veto it or anything. It was going to print. And so we just went with it. Now I do have a funny story though. So Ticklewigglejigglepickle, Dion's version is close to the truth. And so it was just silly words, right? That were just kind of connected to our history and whatever else.
Yeah.
Years later, 15 years later, I'm searching the internet. I don't know what I'm looking for, right? And no, I think somebody told me. I had moved to St. Louis at this point, and somebody had told me, "Hey, do you know that Ticklewigglejigglepickle is on this list of euphemisms for self-pleasuring on the internet?"
Whoa.
And I go, "No, I did not know that." And so there was this list of just all these euphemisms, and one of them was Ticklewigglejigglepickle. So I would like to. Your show is called The Rumors Are True podcast. I would like to set the record straight. There was no intention behind that name at all. There was totally
unbelievable.
19-year-old kids having fun. Yeah, whatever.
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, Dion is at fault. Well, you mentioned R.E.X. Was stoked. Were they stoked on the record overall?
What was his name? Tyler Bacon, right?
Yeah, Tyler. That's
after Doug left and abandoned us to the despair of Tyler. Doug the one that was training us and then left. And then I think I just kind of felt like they were stuck with it. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, that's kind of the impression. But, well, they weren't, like, super supportive, I wouldn't say. When, what was the guy that started Flying Tart Records? Remember he used to
Alex Parker? Alex Parker? Yeah.
Alex. He told us at a festival. What?
Yeah.
He told us that not Sunshine. What was the big one in Pennsylvania?
Creation
Festival.
Yeah.
Had called to see if we wanted to come back, and some other festivals had called to see if we wanted to come back, and R.E.X. was telling people that we broke up.
Wow.
So, not cool. So,
now, to me, Creation Fest is one of my favorite stories at the end of the show.
One.
Yeah. So, and from my perspective, I mean, the album was in stores, I think Dave got the only royalty check. But, as much as they could be behind a bunch of punks that were writing stuff that you couldn't play on the radio, whatever, it was fine.
Yeah.
But we did get to play a few bigger festivals, one of which was Creation. And for me, this is one of the highlights. I mentioned playing Six Flags Atlanta. That was just a highlight show for me. It was a great show. But Creation Festival.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I just want to jump to the end for Jeremy so you can fill this story in, because I want to make sure you don't skip this. Jeremy single-handedly got us banned from ever playing at Creation again.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't have gone that extreme. But so we're playing Creation Festival. Very strict rules there. I mean, it's like they're running people off stage, and we're the opener for the opener or whatever. But still, huge crowd. I mean, I don't know how big that was, but so we get up. They've got these very strict rules: no stage diving, no whatever.
No, of course.
Which was normally what we did, right? We're a metal band, and so we do that stuff. And so we're playing the show. Now, I do want to defend myself. There were some fans in the very front row, like singing all the lyrics, like they were Hot Chili Pearl fans, just begging me to jump the whole show. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. So we play our whole show. We stay clean. We obey the rules. The crowd, I'm assuming, responds so well that they allow an encore, which they did not normally allow. And so they let us go out and do one more song, which was one song too many for my resistance. We go out, I feel what we played, and at the end of the song, I just sailed, man. Off the stage, and it was amazing, and everybody just cheered, and they dumped me back on. We literally walk off the stage, and the dude says, "You will never play Creation."
Oh, my.
It was like, and it was so worth it, man. We met with fans. we met with fans for like 3 hours after. And it just had a blast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was an amazing memory for us. Yeah.
That's so cool. What when this record came out, who did you guys go other than like the festivals you mentioned? Was there any touring, or who were you guys playing at this point?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it primarily Christian shows, or were you getting to play with any secular bands at all?
We played in Oklahoma. Go ahead.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like in 7. Yeah.
Yeah, open for Bride.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Bride in Oklahoma. Yeah.
Played with who's the band with the clarinet MIDI player? Help me out. 3-piece.
We played with the choir.
The choir.
Love the choir. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember they didn't have a bass player. They had a singer, a drummer, and a MIDI clarinet player.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was in Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to answer your question, Jeremy, I don't think we ever did anything you could call a tour. We played
did spot dates,
series of gigs wherever.
Yeah.
We would play Harlingen, Texas, and then we would play Minneapolis the next morning.
Oh my God!
so we had to spend. Dave mentioned this guy Tony. Is it Clausen?
Yeah.
That man, we had like a summer with pretty consistent gigs that paid well, and yeah, certainly it was the best run we had.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally get it. I've heard horror stories for sure when it comes to a lot of Christian alternative bands dealing with, dealing with not getting paid at some point. I'm sure that's a lot. That's something that is not fun, especially when you're out there wanting to eat, pay your bills, that type of thing. So definitely get that. So obviously the record comes out. Does it do pretty well? Do you feel like it does pretty well, or is it was there a buzz about it?
Yeah, I think we set a record for the first month of sales for the distribution company. I think.
Wow, Diamante or?
Yeah, I think that was it. Alex told me about that. So.
Wow, that's really cool.
Which is a common theme for our band. We look pretty good on paper, but the reality is.
Until they heard it.
The live show's a lot of fun, but the album's a little chaotic. I don't know what to do with that. Yeah. No,
Here's one for you, Jeremy. We played. There's a local. Are you familiar with Worlds of Fun? Since you're kind of
I do know Worlds of Fun.
Great, Dion.
Yeah.
We played at Worlds of Fun like Christian Rock Day or something like that. Was that what it was called? Okay. So normally it would be like Whiteheart or Petra or somebody like that. And we were there.
Family fun.
Christian Family Fun Day, which makes it even worse. So they put us in this little theater, and they had drawn this like big poster that had a really cartoon turtle that had a pink shell, and it said "Hot Pink Turtle," and it was very children looking. And then we come out and start doing what we do, and all the kids who thought it was a puppet show ran for the doors.
Yeah.
And
oh my!
Our friends that were there thought it was funny, and they were told to sit down. You turned it up.
Unbelievable.
And that was a good time. Yeah, we were some little kids.
It's this just popped in my head. Did you feel any opposition from the Christian world at all? I know being a metal band or like I guess an alternative band. I mean, I'm sure there was probably some people that maybe looked down on what you were doing.
I can only think of one time. I mean, I felt super accepted. We played churches and youth groups all over the country, lots of different denominations. Yeah, I can only think of one time where they shut us down after a song, but then the pastor got up and defended us. It was just, I felt well received.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
With them?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. They asked me to sit in and play their gospel music with them, but I didn't know how. So I just kind of faked it.
Awesome.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. So you put the record out, you're playing spot dates, you're playing festivals. Do you start working on a new record? And it's, obviously does not see the light of day. Bring me through this next record that, no one's probably ever heard. Yeah.
Which, Dave, I know you got a delay, but why don't you jump in, dude? We'll wait for your mic to catch up.
Dave, so I was talking about the new record, or sorry, the final record that never really saw the light of day. Just was kind of curious about this record that you guys never got to put out.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, Jamin's superpower is being able to sing to something we wrote. I mean,
that's I get what you're saying.
Stuff. So it always blew my mind that he could come up with anything. So let alone cool stuff.
Yeah.
Once in a while it's cool.
Which, by the way, Dion had mentioned some prospective album titles earlier. The second album, I think we were all in agreement leaning toward, was going to be called Horse Child.
Whoa, I love that, actually.
And it was
for it.
I was going to say, I remember a good friend of ours named Phil Barlow. There was like a characterized version of him. I don't remember all the details, but it feels like we were solidly on that path. And man, it would have been a fun album. You mentioned earlier, listening back to the first record, there's some stuff I'm proud of, but we were kids.
Sure.
I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. By the time we wrote that second album, we definitely had found our voice or something and gelled as a unit. And I think, we have a rough demo of that, unfinished songs, just partial lyrics and stuff, but it's fun to listen to that also, every other year or something and go, man, that would have been a good album. Yeah.
Well, how much of it did you get recorded and why did it not get recorded? Sorry, Dion, I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way.
It's all demo stuff, but weren't we going to do like, at least in my mind, we had a set of new songs, and then we had a set of songs from like kind of the middle, and then we were going to do some like really early stuff. So it was going to be like the current 3 phases of Turtle. It was going to be the concept of Horse Child, because we were going to put Dollhouse on it. I wanted to put, what is it?
Tons of
What is it?
Rabbit.
Rabbit is going to be on it. Juicy Fruit was not going to make it on the album.
If Dion was imagining that was going to go on the new record, that would not have made it past the rest of us. I don't think.
I'm curious what Diamante or the distribution would have thought about a Christian alternative band's record being called Horse Child. I think it's incredible.
That album, though, it wasn't as frenetic. I think it had a
vision.
Yeah, and I think it would have been easier to market as just a heavy metal record, or it's kind of melodic vocals mostly, but I think it would have had a more clarity of who we're marketing to. Whereas the first album, you had Banana, you had a little groove, you had some really heavy stuff. It was just chaotic. And it was hard to know what to do with it. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys heard me or was asked this earlier. It kind of got lost in the shuffle. But what was the reasoning for this record not coming out?
Well, Word Records bought R.E.X. And to my knowledge, they only kept Sixpence None the Richer and didn't keep anybody else. Now, there were, I think Believer rolled off to somewhere else. I think Scott with Circle of Dust and all the projects he was doing, I think rolled into another deal. And man, that guy was prolific. He had like 6 bands, at all times going on. But for us, we sold less than 20,000 records. I think we just weren't tempting for Word to pick up and try to figure out what to do with.
Yeah.
You remember I was actually talking, I got permission to contact Alan Doss from the Galactic Cowboys, and he was going through our demo. He was slated to be the producer of the second record.
Oh, that would have been cool. And that would have been a good match.
Yeah, it would have been perfect. He was sending me back notes. He'd call me and be like, hey, when you guys do this, consider doing this. We'll work on this. And he was coming up with all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, this is... we weren't real good with allowing people to mess with our stuff. So... Yeah. It may not have gone well for Alan, but, who knows? Maybe we would have been more receptive since it was Alan Doss, and we kind of respected that dude. So...
When you guys... Go ahead.
We toured enough. We didn't like go on a 6-month tour. But I mean, we played a lot. We really were road warriors and prided ourselves on a good live show.
Yeah.
And that was part of that second album too. And I think this is true with bands' sophomore efforts often. You know what stuff plays like now live and to a crowd and what you can pull off in some ways. First album, lots of background vocals. We did almost none of that. Live, it was just fun for me. Second album, we probably would have moved away from stuff and had it sound more like what we could do live and just heavier, much heavier.
Yeah. Well, so did that? I guess leaving the label, was that kind of deflating for you guys? What was that the feeling like for that? Were you excited, or were you like, oh, cool, we're out of this contract? What was that like?
I remember everybody was fairly done even before that.
Really?
I was just getting tired of driving all the time. Like, the shows were fun, but it was kind of get tedious driving everywhere constantly and being away.
Yeah.
Starting to have kids and families and such. So.
Well, that's part of my memory. I was excited about the opportunity to do a second album. How also, though, my oldest son was born in December of 93. Dion, when was Montana born? Like February of 94? 94. So Dion and I both married, had kids on the way.
Yeah.
Wasn't as fun to be on the road anymore.
Sure.
So we kind of had gigs booked into 94 a little ways. But pretty quickly, we weren't making any money. We were having fun. But I think, certainly for me, I'd leave for a series of gigs and come home, and my oldest son Luke he looked different. I felt like I was missing out, and
absolutely,
so the road life wasn't as appealing. Wish we could have got that second album done, but yeah, like Dion's saying, it was we weren't able to make a living at it.
Sure,
doing what we were doing, and it just seemed good to probably throw in the towel.
What was the final conversation like in terms of like when you guys kind of came to this conclusion? Was it bittersweet? Was it obviously, Dion.
Yeah.
I mean, was it obviously you're still friends, you still love each other very much. It's like, but at that time, was it hard? Was it? I know you're saying, hey, my kids are growing up, my family, but I mean, I'm sure at some point you kind of had to miss it at some point.
I'm trying to leave space for you, Dave, but your mic is slow.
I don't know, but their last conversation, I don't recall. We just kind of quit practicing, I think, for a while. I don't know. I started dating Debbie at the time, the girl, my wife, and I don't know. I don't know if we had a last conversation. Just kind of quit jamming.
I kind of remember us trying to take a break. You guys remember that?
Oh, maybe.
Just saying, hey, we're going to take a break. Not book shows, yeah.
I think we took a breather.
Ha 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 ha. That's an homage to one of our songs where we sing a hymn in the middle. Yeah, we opened a lot of shows with a song called "The Breather," in which we sang the hymn "I Will Call Upon the Lord."
Oh, nice.
Which was kind of fun. Yeah, we used to enjoy like going to local bars in Kansas City and opening with a hymn.
That's awesome.
Good song. At least I enjoyed it. Whatever.
That's amazing.
But in terms of the band wrapping up, I mean, I stuck around Kansas City till 2000 was when I moved to St. Louis, and obviously we're still friends. We'd hang out. We got together in the garage a couple times. Jammed a little bit for old time's sake or whatever. But yeah, I think when I moved to St. Louis, that definitely felt like, okay, the band's not getting together.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
Because just moving away, and then I put together a little side project there. Dion had a little side project, and so I think at some point we're like, okay, well, we're not going back to that. Although we still do every once in a while threaten to get together and just have some fun.
Well, I mean, is there potential for a show at some point? Maybe a vinyl release, or maybe even finishing the new record, or the record that never was?
Finish. It's hard to imagine a set of circumstances that leads us there.
What if Jesus came down and said, "It's time"?
Well, then everyone but Jay would agree.
I think it would be cool.
We got together right before COVID started. Me and Jay and Dave were writing things, and we had a couple songs like working, and we would record everything and send it to Jamin. But without Jamin there, the songs were getting really complex. And it was like, we don't know what you might sing on, but here's what we came up this week. And some of it was pretty cool. I mean, we just recorded on our phones, but I still got it all on my phone. There's, just recording after recording of Jay messing up drum rolls and stuff. So, but COVID kind of shut that down, because for old time's sake, we were doing that in my mom's basement. So mom enjoyed having us there again, and it was just fun just going over to mom's basement and kind of jamming and coming up with stuff.
Well, I know there's a resurgence of bands getting back together, and I know there's an Immortal Fest in Ohio, and I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe at some point, if the opportunity came across for you guys to, get back on the horse for a little and maybe see where that goes, or it's I'm sure it's cool because the music that you guys put out, it put a mark on a lot of people, and I think it's cool that 33 years later we're talking about this record, we're talking about the band, and it's cool that it was an impact for a lot of people like myself and many others. So I definitely think it'd be really cool to see you guys at some point.
Hey, Jeremy. So
yeah, I think
how did you come about hearing us? Because you said you did.
I'm here.
You listened to us?
Yes, I did. I got your record at the Christian bookstore my mother worked at, and my friends and I were into Dig Jesus as well, and so we, and I would have HM magazine, and I would read about you guys, and so it was like the next logical step. Oh, this band's, gonna sound like Dig Jesus, or it's gonna sound like, Red Hot Chili Peppers. So we discovered you that way, and yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Dig Jesus and Poor Evil had a name for our three groups, remember?
I actually don't know that.
We called ourselves the Brothers 12. Don't you remember that?
Brothers 12.
Brothers 12.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
Yeah, we played a lot.
Cool band. Those guys were awesome.
I never heard them. That's
they
awesome.
They got signed before us, man.
Hell no.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say they really should have got signed before us. They were a really talented band. It was an eclectic taste, but they were really good.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's awesome, guys. Well, I know I kind of just talked about, at some point that would be cool to do that. Do you think it'd be cool to maybe do a vinyl release at some point? Do you think that's something you'd be interested in as well? Or is that something that you've never even thought about?
Well, Jeremy, there's only 300 Hot Pink Turtle fans in the world.
Well,
and
all you have to do is press 300 records.
Only 4 of them have record labels. I don't think that's
Well, you guys and Dig Jesus, that's what, 8 people right there?
8 people, yeah.
No, man, I think it'd be cool on Hot Pink vinyl.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I mean,
certainly we will get together and play music again. 100%.
I love that.
We can't not do that.
But
whether that turns into like, hey, let's try to get a more decent recording of that Hornchild album or something, who knows? I'm not sure I can sing those notes anymore, man.
I get that, man. I get that.
Dion will... There's a chance. You see
Hey, he lives in a great area. Yeah, for sure.
Good spot here, man. Good
absolutely.
Spot. Hey, Kansas City's a great town too. It's
absolutely
a lot of love for Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Well, I know you guys can't predict the future, but what do you think the future looks like for you guys individually?
I mean, grandpa.
Well, congrats. That's amazing.
That's right. Congrats, D.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good
July. So that's all I'm looking forward to right now.
I mean, honestly, it's funny because you talk about what's coming. I think my wife and I are starting to talk about what life looks like in our 60s, 70s. We've got 8 grandkids right now.
Wow.
More coming, and so we're enjoying this season. I still love music, but music for me now is writing worship tunes. That I may or may not ever do anything with, at some point, leading worship maybe once a quarter. Most of my adult life, I led worship in the churches where I attended, but just do that a little bit now. Still love it. I mean, at the core of my being, I still am a worshiper.
Yeah.
And love music. I mean, just my favorite art form. I don't go anywhere without Bluetooth headphones on me. In fact, my favorite genre of music right now is like instrumental metal.
Nice.
I love heavy music. I like more melodic vocals, but when I'm working and stuff, I don't want vocals.
Yeah,
because it's distracting. And so, man, I love that music, and hopefully we'll get some time to jam.
That's cool. That's awesome. Dave? Yeah.
I said it sounds pretty serious.
David's just looking forward to doing Social Security next year.
Yeah. Now the tour life begins.
The
That's
drummer
awesome.
he mentioned he's playing with is like the best bass player I know. So, Jay Young.
Ooh. Nice.
And he's playing drums, of all things, heresy.
Woohoo.
Sorry,
Jay. Jay, what do you think the future looks like for you?
Tired.
Fair enough. That's awesome. I love that. Well, Hot Pink Turtle, thank you so much. It's really honored to have you guys on, and I really, really enjoyed this conversation. 16-year-old me would be losing my mind right now. I'm 47-year-old me. It's just awesome to talk to you guys, and I'm really honored that you guys spent time with me and brought me through your history and just kind of, the things you have upcoming, and it's just really cool. And I really appreciate, you guys being that band at that time and doing what you did, and it influenced more people than I think. So just want you guys to know that, I appreciate it. I know a lot of my friends appreciate it. And I'm really grateful for this time and really honored to have you guys on.
Sweet. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's get that reunion show going and that vinyl going. Come on.
We'll get on.
I got one last thing.
Yeah.
The very first show we played that we mentioned, one last thing. But you guys will agree with this one. The very first show we played, we were recording it. Of course, everything's on video, pretty much everything we did. And they walked up to my dad afterwards.
Yes.
Anybody want to take that?
No, you, man. Who else is going to take that?
I might cry.
Oh.
Come on.
It's all
No, we don't need that. They walked up and they said, Mr. Tyler, what do you think about Hot Pink Turtle? And he goes, he had a toothpick in his mouth and he pulled it out and he goes, Hot Pink Turtle? The opinion poll is, if turtles could fall, there'd be one band and that is all. Hot Pink Turtle. And he put his toothpick in his mouth.
I freaking love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
How fitting. That's so cool. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully in the future we'll get to hang out at some point, and really appreciate all you've done, and again for your time. So thank you, guys.
Same, Jeremy. Man, thanks for the talk.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon, guys. Hey, listener, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you guys tagging along with me. It's been really cool to have all the messages, the likes, the subscribes, all that. It's really awesome. So thank you for that. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at The Rumors Are True Cast. If you'd like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. Thank you to the band Hot Pink Turtle, Jamin, Jay, Dion, and Dave. Thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure to talk to you guys. It's really cool to hear your perspective on your band in the past and, of course, your future. So thank you guys to Hot Pink Turtle. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it. Nostalgia is still a heck of a drug. The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jarin. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jarin.